Lena Carter rolls through her quiet neighborhood, her wheelchair creaking softly on the uneven sidewalk. It's a typical day for her, a trip to the local market to stock up on art supplies and groceries. The neighborhood isn't what it used to be. Tensions have risen lately. Whispers of troublemaking outsiders stirring up chaos have started to ripple through the community. She greets a few familiar faces with a nod and a polite smile, but mostly, she keeps to herself. Lena's life has been about staying out of the spotlight, blending in, and avoiding unnecessary attention. But fate doesn't always respect boundaries. On her way back, she notices them, a small group of men loitering near the corner she needs to pass. Their laughter is sharp and mean, their eyes locking onto her as she approaches. She adjusts her grip on her wheelchair's wheels, pretending not to notice, but their voices carry. "Hey, look at this one," one of them sneers. "Think you're better than us, rolling around like a queen?" Lena keeps moving, her pulse steady. She's dealt with worse in her life, much worse. But then, they step into her path, blocking her way. "What's the matter? Can't talk?" Another taunts, leaning in too close. "Or are you too scared?" Lena looks up at him, her dark eyes calm, measuring. "I'm not scared," she says quietly. The man's smirk falters for a moment, but he quickly recovers. Big talk for someone who can't even stand up. They close in, laughing, shoving her wheelchair slightly to jostle her. What they don't know, what they couldn't possibly know, is that Lena Carter is far from helpless. Hey, if you're hooked already and want to see where Lena's story goes, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow for more. This is just the beginning, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The attack comes quickly. One of the men reaches for her, his hand gripping her shoulder, but Lena's response is faster than they can process. In a blur, her elbow snaps up, catching him under the chin with a force that sends him stumbling back. The others freeze for a moment, their laughter cut short. They exchange glances, confused by what just happened. But Lena doesn't wait. Her wheelchair pivots smoothly, and she hooks her arm around the backrest, using the momentum to swing her body low and hard, sweeping another attacker's legs out from under him. He hits the pavement with a heavy thud. The remaining men hesitate, the confidence they had a moment ago evaporating. One of them stammers, backing away slightly. "You have no idea who you're messing with," Lena says, her voice low and calm, but carrying a weight that makes even her attackers pause. The man closest to her lunges anyway, but Lena intercepts him with a brutal precision. A sharp jab to his wrist disarms him, and a swift strike to his knee sends him crumpling. The last of them doesn't even try, he turns and runs, disappearing down the street without a second glance. Lena exhales, adjusting herself back into position in her chair. Around her, the street is quiet again, save for the groans of the men still conscious. She gives them one final look, her expression unreadable, before wheeling herself home. That night, as she sits at her kitchen table, cleaning her scraped knuckles, the memories flood back. She doesn't let herself think about her past often, what she was, what she did. But tonight, it feels like the past is clawing its way back to her. Lena closes her eyes, the ghost of her former self whispering in her mind. Shadow Viper, the missions, the betrayal that took her legs and left her alive but broken. She's tried so hard to leave that life behind, but it seems the world isn't done with her yet. Her phone buzzes on the table, a message from her neighbor Maya. It's simple but heartfelt. "Are you okay? I heard what happened. Let me know if you need anything." Lena smiles faintly at the screen, typing back a quick response. She doesn't want anyone worrying about her, but it's nice to know someone cares. Still, she knows this isn't over. Those men will come back, and they won't come alone. They've tasted their humiliation, and people like them don't let things like that go. She's seen it before, countless times. Lena looks out her window at the darkened street below, her expression hardening. She's lived quietly for years, but if they want to test her, they'll find out exactly who she is. The air feels heavier the next night. Lena sits by her window, the faint glow of a streetlight illuminating the quiet road outside. She knows they'll come back. People like them always do. But this time, she won't be caught off guard. Hours earlier, she'd prepared. Her apartment, modest and simple, is now something else entirely. Furniture shifted, paths cleared, improvised defenses hidden in plain sight. Her wheelchair, too, has been modified, things she never thought she'd need again, but always knew how to create. Her hands tighten on the armrests as she hears the distant hum of engines. The sound grows louder, closer. Then it stops. She watches as 3 cars pull up, their headlights cutting through the night. A dozen men step out, armed and ready. They laugh and jeer as they gather near the building, their arrogance on full display. "Come on out, lady," one of them shouts, his voice echoing. "Let's see if you've got more tricks up your sleeve." Lena doesn't respond. Instead, she wheels herself to the center of her living room and waits. They'll come to her, she knows they will. It starts with a loud crash as they kick in the front door. Heavy boots echo up the stairs, the gang's confidence growing with every step. They reach her apartment and burst in, but the room is dark, only faint moonlight streaming through the windows. "She's not here," one of them mutters. "She's here," another says, scanning the room. "I can feel it." That's when it begins. A small clinking sound draws their attention to a far corner. They step closer, but the moment they do, a hidden canister bursts, releasing a cloud of thick smoke that quickly fills the room. Coughing and swearing, they stumble back, their formation breaking. Lena moves through the chaos silently, using the smoke as cover. She strikes the first man low, a calculated blow to his knee that sends him crashing to the ground. Another swings blindly at the sound of his fall, but she's already gone, disappearing into the haze. Spread out, one of them yells, panic creeping into his voice. It doesn't help. Lena moves like a shadow, taking them down one by one with precision and efficiency. A blow to the throat here, a strike to the ribs there, each move deliberate, each outcome the same. By the time the smoke clears, only a handful of them remain, huddled together, their weapons shaking in their hands. Lena wheels herself into the light, her face calm, her presence commanding. "I told you," she says quietly. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." One of them, younger than the rest, drops his weapon and bolts for the door. The others follow, their bravado shattered. When it's over, the room is silent again. Lena looks around at the wreckage, her breathing steady. She wheels herself to the window and watches as the cars speed away into the night. This isn't over, she knows it. The gang won't stop, and now, they'll want more than revenge. But she's ready for whatever comes next. The aftermath of the fight leaves a weight hanging in the air. Lena spends the early morning hours cleaning up her apartment, every motion deliberate, as if scrubbing away more than just the debris. Her body aches, her hands tremble slightly from exertion, but her mind is sharp. As she clears the last of the broken glass, there's a knock at her door. It's hesitant, soft, nothing like the chaos from earlier. She rolls to the door and peers through the peephole. It's Maya, clutching a steaming thermos in one hand and a worried expression in the other. Lena hesitates before unlocking the door. Maya steps inside, her eyes darting around the room. "I heard noises last night. Are you okay? Did they come back?" Lena nods, keeping her answers short. "It's handled." Maya frowns, setting the thermos down on the counter. "Handled?" "Lena, the whole neighborhood is terrified. People are talking about leaving, about giving up. They think the gang will come back even angrier." "They might," Lena says, her tone matter of fact. "But this isn't over for me." "It can't be." Maya studies her, the weight of unspoken questions filling the space between them. "You're not just some random person, are you? The way you handled them, it's like you've done this before." Lena looks away, her jaw tightening. "That part of my life is over." "But it's not," Maya presses, her voice quiet but firm. "Is it?" For a long moment, Lena doesn't answer. The memories flash through her mind again, her time as Shadow Viper, the missions, the betrayal, the faces of those she lost. No, she finally admits, her voice soft but resolute. It's not. Maya exhales, nodding slowly. Okay. Then what do we do now? Lena looks at her, surprised. I'm not leaving, Maya says, crossing her arms. This is my home too. And if you're going to fight, I want to help. Lena shakes her head. This isn't your fight. It wasn't yours either, but you didn't hesitate, Maya replies. I'm not going to sit back and do nothing. Lena studies her for a moment, seeing the determination in her eyes. She sighs, gesturing toward the thermos. Let's talk. Hours later, as the sun rises, Lena and Maya walk through the neighborhood, speaking with their neighbors. Lena's reputation has already spread, whispers of what happened drawing curious but wary glances. Some are hesitant, others skeptical, but as Lena speaks, explaining her plan to protect their community, more and more people begin to listen. By nightfall, the neighborhood feels different, less afraid, more united. Barricades are built, windows reinforced, and people take turns keeping watch. Lena teaches them simple techniques for self-defense, her military training resurfacing as she demonstrates. She knows it won't be enough to stop what's coming, but for the first time, she doesn't feel like she's fighting alone. The gang will return, stronger and more determined than ever. But this time, they'll face a community ready to defend itself. As Lena watches the neighbors working together, she feels a flicker of something she hasn't felt in years, hope. The gang returns on the third night, just as Lena expected. Their numbers have doubled, their vehicles roaring down the street like predators on the hunt. This time, they come armed with more than bats and bravado. The tension in the neighborhood is palpable as the sound of engines echoes off the brick walls, the flicker of headlights slicing through the dark. Lena sits at her window, watching them approach. The neighbors are ready, each in their assigned positions, barricades in place, armed with whatever they could muster, makeshift weapons, tools, anything to protect themselves. Lena's calm instructions had prepared them for this moment, but now the fear on their faces is real. The gang spills out of their cars, shouting threats and laughing as they spread out. Their leader, a tall man with a scar running across his face, steps forward, his voice booming. We warned you. And now, we're taking this place apart brick by brick. From her vantage point, Lena presses a small button she had rigged earlier. Across the street, a line of metal trash cans crashes to the ground, spilling noise and confusion into the night. The gang startles, their formation breaking as they look for the source of the sound. It's the opening Lena needs. She wheels herself out of her apartment and onto the street, her movements quick and purposeful. Maya is by her side, clutching a baseball bat, her knuckles white from the grip. The other neighbors slowly emerge from their hiding spots, their numbers larger than the gang anticipated. You've had your fun, Lena calls out, her voice steady, cutting through the chaos. But this is where it ends. The gang's leader narrows his eyes, stepping closer. And what are you going to do, huh? You and these people think you can stop us? Lena smiles faintly, her calm demeanor unnerving him. We already have. With her signal, the neighbors spring into action. The traps Lena had set up earlier, ropes, tripwires, and cleverly placed obstacles, turn the street into a battlefield. The gang stumbles and falls, their movements chaotic as they're picked off one by Lena and the others. The fight is brutal and messy. Lena moves with precision, using her wheelchair's reinforced frame as both a shield and a weapon. Maya proves herself too, striking down anyone who gets too close. The neighbors fight with a unity they hadn't known they possessed, their fear giving way to determination. The gang's leader watches in disbelief as his men are overwhelmed. He charges at Lena, rage fueling his every step, but she's ready. She waits until he's close before using her momentum to spin her chair, a hidden blade snapping out from the wheel and cutting his leg. He collapses with a yell, clutching his wound. Lena looms over him, her breathing steady despite the chaos around them. You should have left when you had the chance, she says coldly. The remaining gang members, seeing their leader fall, scatter into the night, their confidence shattered. The neighbors let out a collective cheer, their relief palpable. As the dust settles, Lena surveys the street, her neighbors gathering around her. Some are bruised, others exhausted, but all of them are standing. For the first time, the neighborhood feels alive again. United. Maya steps up beside Lena, her face streaked with sweat and dirt but lit with a triumphant smile. "We did it," she says softly. Lena nods, a rare smile touching her lips. "Yeah. We did." In the distance, the faint sound of sirens approaches. Someone must have called the police, but by the time they arrive, the fight will already be over. Lena turns to her neighbors. "This isn't just about tonight," she says. "If we want to keep this place safe, we have to stay together. Watch out for each other." The crowd murmurs in agreement, their fear replaced by a new sense of pride and purpose. As the sirens grow louder, Lena looks at the darkened street, the barricades, and the people around her. She knows there's still work to be done, but for now, they've won. The days following the battle are filled with a cautious calm. The gang has disappeared, and the neighborhood is quieter than it's been in weeks. But Lena knows better than to believe it's over. Threats like this rarely vanish completely, they retreat, regroup, and return stronger. Lena spends her time reinforcing defenses and teaching her neighbors more advanced techniques for protecting themselves. Maya becomes her right hand, organizing shifts for patrols and checking in on the more vulnerable residents. The bond between the neighbors grows stronger as they work together, their fear replaced by resilience. But Lena can't shake the feeling that something bigger is coming. The gang's leader, the scarred man she defeated, hadn't seemed like the type to give up so easily. She starts keeping watch from her window every night, scanning the streets for any sign of trouble. One night, trouble finds her. It starts with a low hum, cars moving slowly down the street, their headlights off. Lena's muscles tense as she wheels herself to the window, her eyes narrowing. This time, it's not just the gang. These vehicles are newer, their movements coordinated. A flash of movement catches her eye, a figure in tactical gear stepping out of one of the SUVs. Her stomach drops. These aren't just thugs. This is something else entirely. Lena doesn't wait. She grabs the small communicator she and Maya set up and presses the button. "Maya," she says, her voice calm but urgent. "They're here. Get everyone to safety." Maya's response is immediate. "On it." "What about you?" "I'll handle this," Lena replies, already moving toward the bag she keeps hidden under her bed. Inside is her past, tools, weapons, and gear she thought she'd never need again. She straps on the lightweight armor, checking each piece with practiced efficiency. Her wheelchair, modified further in the past few days, hums quietly as she activates the reinforced wheels and hidden compartments. By the time the first figure reaches her door, Lena is ready. The assault is fast and surgical. These new attackers move with precision, sweeping through the building with military efficiency. But they didn't account for Lena. She meets the first two with traps rigged to the doorframe, explosions of blinding light and smoke that send them reeling. From there, it's chaos. Lena moves through her apartment like a phantom, using her knowledge of the space to outmaneuver her attackers. They're skilled, but she's better. For every move they make, she's already 3 steps ahead, anticipating their tactics and exploiting their weaknesses. As the fight rages on, Lena pieces together who they are. Their gear and tactics remind her of something familiar, something from her time in the military. These aren't just hired guns. They're professionals, possibly tied to the very betrayal that ended her career. One of them finally corners her, his weapon raised. "Phantom," he says, his voice distorted through a mask. "We've been looking for you." Lena doesn't flinch. Instead, she lunges forward, using her chair's modifications to knock the weapon from his hands and disable him with a series of quick, brutal strikes. "Found me," she mutters as he collapses. The fight ends with Lena standing, or sitting, victorious. The surviving attackers retreat, leaving behind their unconscious comrades. Lena watches from her window as the SUVs speed away, her mind racing. This wasn't random. They came for her specifically. Someone from her past has found her, and now the neighborhood is in even greater danger than before. As dawn breaks, Lena gathers the neighbors in the center of the street. She doesn't sugarcoat the truth. They'll come back, she tells them. And next time, they'll be stronger. If we want to survive, we need to be ready. The neighbors exchange nervous glances, but one by one, they nod. Maya steps forward, her jaw set. "We're with you," she says firmly. Lena looks at the faces around her, her resolve hardening. For years, she ran from her past, hiding in the shadows. But now, the fight has come to her doorstep, and she's done running. Whatever's coming, Lena will face it head-on, with her neighbors by her side. The silence of the neighborhood is eerie the following night. The streets, once filled with quiet chatter and children playing, now feel like a battlefield waiting to erupt. Lena sits in her apartment, methodically sharpening a blade. Her mind is sharp, her body coiled with tension, ready for the next wave. Maya enters, her face pale but her eyes determined. "Everyone's in position," she says. Barricades are set. Patrols are rotating. They're scared, but they're ready. Lena nods, sliding the blade into a hidden compartment in her wheelchair. Good. Fear can keep you alive, so long as it doesn't control you. Maya hesitates. "Lena, who were those people?" "They weren't like the others." "They were after you, weren't they?" Lena doesn't look up, her hands busy securing her gear. "Yes. They know who I am. Or at least, who I was." "And who was that?" Maya presses. Lena finally meets her gaze. "I was Shadow Viper. A ghost. A weapon. I was sent to clean up messes no one else could. But I became a liability when I learned too much." Maya's eyes widen. "And they're the ones who—" "They're connected," Lena says, cutting her off. "The gang was just